Welcome. Welcome to a community of creatives. Welcome to a community where we're honest and we're real and we're raw and we don't just say the word transparent just to say it. I'm Elizabeth Strusz and I've created this beautiful book, Servant BusinessShip. It's a place where we talk about servant leadership and how hard it is, but also how inspiring it can be. It's a place where we use photos created by Yureesh, the illustrator, to draw in the parts of us that we can't always say out loud. We know as creatives that we have a special relationship with art, but also trying to beautify this world. So whether you're running a restaurant and serving people from behind a bar or tables, whether you're using a yoga studio to be able to serve people at their core, maybe you're a coffee shop and you're just trying to figure out how to make sure that people smile every time they drink your cup of coffee. I'm a hairstylist and I've watched passionate people try to build empires and just struggle. And this book is a series of stories about how I struggled, how I've fallen on my face, and how we could do things a little differently to see how we can change the world, because we know we have the biggest hearts on the planet. So keep watching, and I hope these chapters speak to you as they have been spoken through me. Welcome to Servant BusinessShip. I'm yours truly, Elizabeth Strusz, and today we're going to talk about part 1 in Servant BusinessShip. So if you're just catching up with me, Servant BusinessShip is the idea that we only grow companies based on servant leaders. But there is a business component that we have to be mindful of, even though some of us might feel like it's kind of a shady word. And if you've ever been a part of a small business, you know there's nothing small about your business. As my good friend Tim Miles always said, small businesses still wake up at 3 a.m. and it feels like a very big business. So without further ado, I'm going to jump in. You'll notice over to the corner that I have a beautiful quote written by Yureesh. The quote's not written by Yureesh, but it is drawn. And it says, "Dreamers gonna dream." Today, I hope as you walk through part 1, you keep in mind, dream. That's what we need from you. That's what this world needs more than anything else. So bear with me. I'm going to be reading directly from the book. So intro to part 1. This part of the book will walk you through how to write a business plan, a handbook, and a manual, all while not putting yourself or your team to sleep. While it is their job to truly know where to find it and read it at least once in their lifetime of your company, it is your job to keep the consistency of what you write. It is your job to keep the accountability, but don't worry, we won't talk about that until part 2. All right, you ready to jump into chapter 1? Without further ado, better now than never, business before pleasure. Quick story on this. This is actually a quote by P. Diddy, and I believe it's from his song called Victory. I actually totally stole this, not from P. Diddy, but from a good friend of mine. We were talking and he's like, one of the things that I do when running my business is I make sure that it is always business and then friendships. And often as creatives, because we love what we do and we get really passionate about it, I think we get that backwards. We try to make friendships into business and it always feels like somebody's getting slighted. And that's okay if you didn't know better. But in case you want to be able to say you run your business like P. Diddy, then I highly suggest doing business first. All right, without further ado, I digress. Chapter 1 of Servant BusinessShip. This chapter is called Aunt Suzy Q. Have you ever had someone tell you how to run your business or how your business idea could be better? Or maybe that you are failing at your business, but has no idea how you run your life, let alone your business? I call these people the Auntie Suzy Qs of the world. And we all have one. Though it may not be your aunt specifically, you have at least one, if not 3. And some days you may have more than others. Sometimes they're complete strangers. Aunt Suzy Q always knows what's best for your business. She will have the best ideas, with the best ways to run it, with the absolute best ways to make your business the best. You've already started picturing the Aunt Suzy Q in your life, haven't you? If you aren't sure if you have one, the most common phrases used by them are as follows. What you really need to do is insert idea. What could make things better is insert next idea. It would be better if you just insert idea. Have you ever thought about insert idea? Let's be really clear. The intentions of Aunt Suzy Q are really good. Their heart is out to save us from ourselves. But let's also be clear. You don't need saving, and it's no one else's job to save us, or vice versa. Aunt Suzy will always be a part of our lives. I've received some of the best advice for my company from strangers and family. I've received some of the worst advices from coaches. It doesn't mean we should shut them all out. They all have gems of information for us, bits of truth that will shine on us, even if it is reminding us what we don't want to do. We serve our purpose best when we explore how to gracefully handle our Suzy Qs. Example, thank you so much for your idea is a beautiful phrase to acknowledge the gem we have been given. We don't need to let dear old auntie know that you have no intention of doing said idea. The verbiage is to make sure we have listened and taking the time to be grateful for someone to take the time to tell us something valuable to them. Once upon a time, a businessman told me, if there are no complaints or ideas, I'm really doing something wrong. There's a lot of truth to this. No one likes the complaint department, but we need it all the same. You will never be everyone's cup of tea. You're not pizza or tacos. There, I said it. Opening a business isn't about pleasing every single person. It is learning who you want to please and building the entire business around that. Lean into what you are skilled at, even if you can't always articulate it. That is kind of why you tuned in, right? What you don't know yet is that the thrill ride you just jumped on comes out without harnesses, tour guides, or even a nice e-brake. This path will be full of hustle and jostle. Find peace in not having to build yourself to everyone's liking. The only person that has to like you is you. There's a beauty in having the people that care about you so much feel the need to give you unsolicited advice. Or maybe you have people you trust that are asking and paying for advice. The only way you will sleep at night is if you take every bit of Aunt Suzy Q advice with a grain of salt. Create a balance of seeing what outsiders see and what you want within your company. Following through with Aunt Suzy advice and our attentions can be complicated. Look for the quiet voice that speaks first. Your intuition can be found in the quiet space before the second voice that is louder and starts to yell. The louder voice in our minds will always be somebody else's voice. This is a story we hold from another time and place. Don't give those words rental space in your head. I promise they won't pay the mortgage. The words we say in our head govern our mind and our bodies. Like a computer, we program ourselves with the words we say. Getting quiet in this loud world is a superpower. Begin with listening to the first whisper. All right, let's finish chapter 1 with your thought leader. Aunt Suzy will magically appear to remind you what you fear most. Sometimes in business, sometimes in life. She will never fail to have an opinion on how you should fix it. So, take out some pen and paper or write a note in your phone, whichever one works for you. Who are your potential Aunt Susys? What do you fear hearing from them the most? Write down your own verbiage for gracefully handling the Aunt Susys of the world. And then take some time and discover, how do you find your quiet voice? The book club for this chapter is going to be a couple, and I'll drop the links below. The book club for this chapter is going to be The Greatest Salesman in the World. I loved this book. So The Greatest Salesman in the World, I thought was going to be a sales book, and I'm like allergic to sales. The old school theory of sales. I'm allergic to it. It's actually a really cool guide of philosophy of salesmanship and success, and tells the story of Hafid, a poor camel boy who achieves a life of abundance. It's a fun read with a lot of lessons. I highly invite you to check out Kid President's Pep Talk. Every year or two, I rewatch this before I get back out in the field, and I will tell you there's something about Kid President that just sits in your soul. And if you haven't discovered anything about Kid President, I highly recommend jumping into that rabbit hole. He's wonderful. And last but definitely not least, dealing with Aunt Suzy can be overwhelming, and the idea of even going through the thought leader can be overwhelming. So I also recommend there's a video called The Man in the Arena. It's by Brene Brown, and she speaks to who she is willing to take criticism from. And it might not be who you think it is. Thanks for joining me on part 1, chapter 1 of Servant BusinessShip. Yours truly, with the guidance of, I'm pointing to the wrong side, with the guidance of Yureesh, with some beautiful artwork. I hope you tune in, and I hope you drop in what's been the most helpful, and maybe some of your answers on the thought leader. Let's start a community where we can have each other's backs.